If you can make sure you've got something to write with and write on, or at the very least your typing apparatus. What am I saying that for? I mean your laptops and your computers, but basically something to write on and take notes on. So welcome. We will start in a few minutes. We are about 5 past is the official start time, and I'll get things going as soon as I can. I will also put the slide up for you as well. If you have any questions throughout the session, please put it into the chat, and we can go through that. Also, throughout the point, you'll have opportunities to unmute yourself to ask questions if you want to, but if you don't want to actually speak, you can do that at the end or put it into the chat. So I'm going to stop blabbing, and we've got about 3 minutes and we'll start officially. Can I just ask everyone if you can see my extended project qualification PowerPoint slide? Someone can either just shout yes or no, or put it in the chat. Excellent, thank you guys. Good to know. Okay. Right, let's get started then. There's quite a few people who are already in on time. Thank you very much for that. And it looks like this is a bigger group than the one I had period 1. So I'm going to try and leave more time at the end for any questions. So this is EPQ, Extended Project Qualification. For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Mrs. Brooker. I'm the current head of year 12, so I'll be your head of year 12 in September as well. And I run EPQ. This year, it's not just me teaching it. I think Mr. Dale and Mrs. Hurrell will also be teachers of EPQ. I don't know who's got what option block, but I'm running all the sessions today anyway. So we're just going to go through information, and there's going to be quite a lot of information. I do apologise. I'm pretty sure today's going to feel like information overload, but we'll go through your questions, we'll go through all this information, and then if you have any questions at the end of the session, you can ask, but also feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to have an email conversation about EPQ with you, about subjects you want to do, anything along those lines, especially until end of next week. And then after that, I'll be on holiday, and then I might see you all. Maybe I'll see some of you in exam week. Right, let's get started then. So what is EPQ? Simply put, EPQ is a major independent project that you organise, you manage your own time. It's completely solo project about any topic, answering any question that you choose to. There's a lot more stuff in there, but overall that's what it is. You get to choose your style of project, so we'll go through that a little bit later on, different kind of styles that are out there. You get to choose your own topic. It can literally be anything that you are interested in. I think it's really important that you do something that is your passion, something you're super interested in. It doesn't have to be about your subjects that you are going to take in September, but it needs to be something that you are very interested in, because you're going to be in the driving seat for this project. You're going to be doing lots and lots of research and planning, putting things together, collating, analysing, writing an essay, creating a piece of work maybe, evaluating, and then everyone presents at the end. You'll get lots and lots of teacher guidance from your teachers. We will be quite heavy-handed at the beginning, lots of input from us, making sure you're on the right tracks and you know what you're doing. And then after that, we kind of step back a bit and you take the reins and you start, driving your own kind of project, making sure that you're organised and you know what you're doing. The other thing that you need to know that EPQ is about deadlines. There are marks for time management and organisation. So if you're late for your deadlines without having requested an extension more than 24 hours beforehand, then what you are going to find is that you can't get those top marks, because you need to make sure. And this is where things like time management are really, really important. So why do it? Okay, now I think I would like to say that people will do it because it is something that is interesting to them. It's going to be a passion project for you. Okay, that's really, really important, that it is something that you're interested in doing. It can be a subject that you don't study anymore, but you really loved. For example, if you really, really loved history, and then your 3 subjects for A-levels don't include history, you could do a historical topic because it's a subject that you no longer study but you absolutely enjoyed. Same with if it was food tech or art or anything really, and this really does cover absolutely any project you may want to do. As I've said, independent skills are going to be massively developed. You are going to be taught I'd say September is probably when you have the heaviest input from us. Then you are running the show, and then around Christmas time is when you'll get your first big deadline. And then you'll get some detailed feedback, lots of input and lots of feedback from us for that piece. And then again, you're back on your own, taking all the feedback on and handing it in for before your presentation. So independent skills are massive. If you're not one of those people that are easily self-motivated at the moment, don't worry, it is something that over the whole of year 12 we're putting together and doing, but also it means that you can do something and you can develop it, I guess, as a skill that can be developed quite easily. Same with your research skills. You're going to have to go out and just do tons of research, and you need to know how to research effectively. It's better knowing what kind of things you're looking for, and this is where planning comes in, than it is printing off 10, 15, 20 pages from websites and looking at all of the work there going, what on earth am I looking for? Again, this will be something that will be taught to you and then you will develop throughout the year. You need to be organised. So important. You have to be organised. Lots of people ask me this all the time. Do universities accept this qualification? Yes, they do. They really do accept these qualifications. Even the top universities like them. So anyone who is currently thinking about potential top universities, yes, even those accept UCAS, not UCAS, sorry, EPQ. The reason why is because some people have had universities say, actually, you need to get an A star, an A star, and an A for your 3 A levels. And then when they add in that they're also doing EPQ, sometimes some universities drop those entry requirements. Some universities also focus on UCAS points. And obviously, this is worth half an A level in terms of your UCAS points. So it is really important for university students. It gives you something else to talk about in an interview, whether it's a job interview or a university interview or an apprenticeship interview. Anytime when you have to try and sell yourself, EPQ is going to be really good, because you have the chance to show that you not only are passionate about things, but you're so passionate that you can stick to a big project for a whole year because of it. Now, in terms of thinking of a passion project and more to talk about into interviews and stuff, it doesn't need, like I said, it doesn't need to be something you're currently studying. Some universities like their EPQs to be similar to what you study or what you're going to study at university, but it really doesn't have to. It's all about you as a person. You're kind of rounding off all these skills that are definitely cross-curricular skills. Okay, these are things that you need to learn and use in all subjects. So there's loads here, and I'm going to go through them briefly. I'm not going to spend all my time going through these and reading it, because you guys can read PowerPoints. So I just wanted to kind of put that up on there and talk through some bits and pieces. At any point, if you've got questions, you can either do the raise your hand icon, or you can put it into the chat if you don't want to actually speak. It's fine either way. So you're going to be creative. You get to choose your own topic in your question. You know, the number of times we've done essays and that you've done coursework where pretty much the question is given to you and you don't get a chance to be independent. This is not like that. This is you coming up with something. And this again comes back to independence, which we've talked about briefly. You're going to have weekly guidance from us. We're going to be there every single lesson. We'll be taking a register, and you'll be sitting down, getting on with your work. We will be in that room talking to you, making sure everything's okay, seeing how things are going. If you're sitting there wasting your time, we'll be challenging you for that as well. So the whole concept of independence doesn't mean we're just going to go, right, there you go do something. We're there to guide you, and we will be able to. Decision making, you have to choose all this. How long you think things are going to take? What's your question going to be? What order you're going to start writing your essay in or creating your product in? You know, and that kind of follows with your initiative and enterprise, being able to kind of look at different sources. If I said research something, the first thing we would do nowadays, and that includes me, is the first thing we do is we would look on the internet. But there's so much more out there. There's videos, there's podcasts, there's articles, there's actual textbooks, and the library is amazing for this. There's primary research going out there, interviewing people and asking them to fill out questionnaires. This is all really good stuff. Again, it will depend on your subject. Some of your subjects you won't need to go out and do primary research. Others you might actually go, you know what, I need to. This is going to be really important. And planning this was also really important as well. Wait, I can see a question. I'll go through that in a moment. So time management, organisation, and look, you're going to be doing 3 A levels. This is an addition to your 3 A levels. So you need to be then planning your time. If you know when you've got deadlines for the other subjects, you will also know when you've got deadlines for EPQ. And the whole point is for you to juggle this and be able to manage that time. So I have a question. When I choose EPQ, can I select 3 other subjects? Yes, you can. So you have to do 3 A levels. EPQ is the additional piece. Okay, so this also might help you think about it, because if you're doing your 3 A levels and you choose EPQ, now in September last year, I started with 78 year 12 students doing EPQ. By the time we got to their first draft, which was just before Christmas, I think 10-ish had dropped it, maybe a little bit more than that. And as long as they're doing their 3 other subjects, it's okay to drop it. And then by the time we got to closer to the final deadline, a few more dropped it. So when we, I have 52 students out of the 78 that have actually completed EPQ. Others have dropped it because of either personal reasons, others have dropped it because they can't cope with the workload from your 3 other A levels on top. So, and there's no judgment about it. This truly is an extra bit of qualification in there. Biology, chemistry, maths, and EPQ. No, I don't, Roxana, purely because I have students who have done that. I have lots of students that have done those kind of very heavy subjects and still managed to do an EPQ. And it all just depends on you. If you're quite resilient, which is something we want to start building in youngsters nowadays, if they haven't already, then you'll be able to work it. If you manage your time and you organise yourself really well, then you're actually going to be all right with this, because you can just juggle everything. You'll have things worked on it. There's a lot of independent time. You have lesson time and you have your own time. And you will also, as year 12, you'll suddenly get a lot of what lots of people like to call freeze in your timetable, where you don't have a lesson. So if you manage those study sessions really well, you'll be able to cope with it. I don't think it's too stressful, but again, Roxana, there's nothing stopping you from starting it and then going, actually it is stressful for me, I'm going to leave it, and that's fine. There's no judgment, nothing gets done. All you need to do is tell people that you are going to be quitting and dropping EPQ. Mrs. Pride is usually the person, and it comes off of your timetable, it comes off our register, and it's all done. They are graded A star to E. It is Edexcel Pearson that are the people that we are doing EPQ with. Now, lots of other exam boards do it, but we do it with Edexcel Pearson. And I'll go through the different kind of topics that you can do excuse me, and the different kind of styles of EPQ to suit different kind of students. So critical thinking is another critical analysis, and critical thinking is another skill that you're going to develop, because you have to be able to evaluate and review the sources you get, not take on everything you get from a website or a textbook, challenge it, that kind of stuff. Same with your presentation, you're going to be learning these kind of presentation skills. A lot of people will start getting a bit nervous about that. You don't have to do it in front of a whole class. You will do it in front of about 5 people, depending on how it works. It'll probably be a choice of your people. You can bring friends in as long as they don't have a lesson at that time, and you can get it done that way, so it's fine. The presentation is not timed. We usually say around 20 minutes. Now that sounds like a lot of time, but that includes questions from your audience as well. Okay, so it can include that as well. So just be aware that that's another thing that it will include. So I'm just going to turn my volume off of my iPad, because I can hear it beeping every time one of you puts a message in. Top grades. It is honestly, Whitney, it's quite a lot to do with independence. To get, because you get a whole section of marks specifically on your time management if you did the project independently with only limited guidance. That doesn't mean you can't give me work. It doesn't mean you can't ask me questions. It means in terms of like formal feedback and formal guidance. So if I give you your draft work back and you do a little bit and then you come back and say, can you read it again? And I'll read it again, give you back, that kind of stuff. That's not doing anything independently and taking initiative. That's relying on more than just limited guidance. People can do that. I've had loads of students who just know what they're doing, and this is where the guidance at the beginning of the course with your teachers is really important, because you can ask all the questions you want there. You can start planning and organising your time much better that way round. So topics, okay, it has to be, and I've said it lots of times and I'll keep saying it, it's got to be something you're passionate about and you're really, really interested in. If you have a mild interest in football, don't do an EPQ on football. If you are super passionate about gender in football, or about chocolate cakes, or whatever it is you're really passionate about, that's more than likely going to be able to be something you can do an EPQ on. So coming up on your screen is going to be a whole plethora of different topics that people have done in the past, and some of them were the ones that were also done this year. There is some that are very serious topics, such as the justice system, corporal punishment, looking at reality TV and how that kind of affects mental health. Lots of things that are kind of related to what's going on in the world as well. We've had people do it on poetry. The people have done it on sports. Lots of stuff this year. Lots of students have done gender in sports. A couple of years ago, lots of people were doing like finance in sports as well. So really it is up to what kind of, what is interesting to you. I've had students look at social media and how it affects either learning or how it affects social interaction, that kind of stuff, mental health. Lots of stuff on child development we've had in the past as well. So people have looked at how trauma has affected child development, and others have looked at how child development is focused on just language acquisition. Some people have done on bilingualism. So if you've got two languages that you are quite fluent in and you find that interesting, having a look at that. We've had people do feminism in Disney, which is super interesting to me. The idea of looking at protagonists, male and female, and look at how they're represented. Racism, one student has done is racism inherited, or is it something that's taught to us? And that was a really interesting one. Another one's done about the 13th Amendment. There's protest music, there's rap. People looking at how, the effect of metal music and violence, all sorts, human behaviour. People have looked at film soundtracks. People have looked at Formula One, Olympics. Some students have done foods of the world. They've done, theirs has been more of a project rather than an essay, and they've talked a lot about, how to construct the best chocolate cake, or how recipes are adapted to include kind of vegan ingredients, anything that they're interested in. This year we actually had a student who did was Einstein really as good as people say he was? So that he did a whole lot of research on Einstein, including reading, the biography and autobiography of his. People have done things like rap and politics. How is fashion affected by music, or is music affected by fashion? That kind of stuff. We've had students do green architecture. There's absolutely so much. I could spend a whole lesson just going over topics that we have done. This year I've read essays on video games and music. So if you're interested in video games and the music that's behind it, people have looked at the main characters, how women are represented in video games as well. It really is, sorry, my throat's hurting now. It really is something that is quite passionate and very specific to you and what you're interested in. We've had people done stuff like history in terms of, like, this year we've had someone do the British Raj. We've done things like apartheid. Some students have done World War I, and actually what he created was a piece of music to represent the experience of the soldiers in World War I. There's loads of really cool things you can do. So many more. I did want to try and put as many as I could on, and I realised I'd end up making the font so small that you can't even see it properly. There's that many, especially considering I've had 50 this year, 50 different EPQ projects, and they really do range. So they're the kind of topics you can do. Now, the types of projects you can do really fall into two main categories. You have your dissertation, which is a written piece, 5,000 to 6,000 word report on your topic, on your question. It's like a debate question. And then you have the artifact, which is a physical piece. So it could be artwork, it could be a prototype if you're a DT person, it could be a video filming, it could be creating a music piece and composition. Students have done that every single year since I've been doing this at Shenley. People have written scripts for new plays focusing on gender, or whatever it is that they have wanted to do their particular topic on. So there's loads and loads of different things that you can do, but your two types of projects are your dissertation and your artwork. Now, you might be looking at that and going, 5,000 words, oh my God, that's far too much. But students started thinking that in September. And then by the time they handed in their final essays and did their presentations, they realised it's not an awful lot of words, especially if you've got so much to talk about. And honestly, it's the most popular decision in terms of a project. There is no easy option. You know, I've had people go, which one's easier, Miss, the artifact or dissertation? With dissertation, you've got a ton of writing to do. But an artifact, there's more work outside of lessons expected, because if you're making something, there's time to go get the materials. There's time to go start actually physically making it, drawing things out, doing drafts, all that kind of stuff comes into play with an artifact. So both do take a lot of time outside of lessons. Both have their pros and cons. I guess it just depends on, one, your topic, and two, the kind of student you are. If you are very hands-on, very creative, a lot of students who no longer study music have done musical compositions. You know, there's loads of different, there are students who study music who've decided to do a musical piece. And that's really interesting. This year we had one student who looked at the excuse me, looked at the intros and outros for the heroes and villains in Disney music, and then created her own intro and outro for a hero and a villain. And that was the music pieces she created. So, you know, and you can imagine that would have taken her so many more hours than if she had just written an essay. But it is the passion. That most people will go for. We're so used to writing essays. You know, you do it all the way through. You've done it in your GCSEs, essay after essay after essay. You're used to it. So a lot of people choose that because that's the safer option, a more familiar option. So, you know, you have that kind of concept. Anyone ever done 4 subjects? We don't get people to do 4 subjects. Shenley, it's only 3 subjects. 3 and EPQ, or just 3. We literally don't allow students to pick 4 A-levels. There's no need for it. Our universities don't care about that 4th A-level at all. And it's just a lot more hassle, because you'll end up getting 4 average grades instead of 3 really good grades. So we don't ask students, or we don't let students pick 4 subjects. It's just 3 and an EPQ, or just 3 subjects. In the past, when we used to do AS levels, where at the end of year 12 people used to what's the word, when people used to drop a subject at the end of year 12 to get an AS, yeah, we had students doing 4 and then EPQ, and then by the time they started year 13 they're actually only doing 3, because they finished EPQ in year 12 and they finished one of their and then they picked one of their subjects to turn into an AS at the end of year 12. But no, it's 3 subjects plus EPQ, or just 3 subjects. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so this is what your year will look like. You're going to have a project proposal to do first. That's basically planning your project, what you want to do, why you want to do it, what kind of questions you're coming up with. What you are going to be working on in your summer task, which I'll go through in a moment, is in fact going to help you with your proposal, and vice versa. Task planning, you're going to be doing lots of planning of what you're going to do, like to-do list, but a more detailed to-do list. Every week you're going to be, every lesson, you're going to be filling in an activity log, basically telling me what you've done, how it's going, any problems you've faced, how you've overcome them. That activity log helps me see how organised you are, and also it shows me how you've managed your time, which there are marks for in the EPQ. Okay, there are marks specifically for time management, as I've said before. And your most of autumn term, your first term, is going to be based on research. Good chunk of it is going to be research. The rest of it will be writing your draft of your essay. All of this, up to the point where it says main project draft, that's pretty much your first term for EPQ. It is busy, it is heavy, there's lots to do, however, it's still doable. And then after Christmas, you'll get a detailed feedback for your draft, and then it's just improving final any research, final finishing off bits, and then handing things in with an evaluation and then a presentation. Usually we get our presentations done by the time we get to May. So your course for EPQ is usually September to May, and then that's it. Then you're done. You have the opportunity to do any improvements when you see your final grades, but again, if I give you too much and constant feedback, then I can't give you those top marks because of the fact that it has to be independent. So question, can you do basketball, 3 subjects and EPQ? Yes, you can. You're going to have hardly any time to breathe and do anything, but yes, you can. Yeah. So you've got your maths, your physics, your chemistry, tough subjects, very, very tough subjects, but you can do that. Your basketball is going to be mostly on a Wednesday afternoon. Your EPQ would be in one of your option blocks. If you choose to do that and you have that many things going on, I would highly recommend being super planned and super organized, because that's what you're going to need, really. More than anything, you need to be super organized for this particular subject, especially if you're going to balance all of those things as well. Okay, next question. Let's have a quick look at what it says. Oh, it's still beeping at me. Is there more research or writing? That's equal. If you don't do enough research, Alessandro, you're not going to have anything to write about. So the research is essential to put it all together, and that includes in your artifacts. You still have to do research in the artifact. So we've had a student who did stock frame animation as her artifact this year. And so she had to go out and research material. She had to research models and sets, software. She had to research the stories, and hers was like focused on Japanese stories. So she had to focus on Japanese children's stories and research all of that. So it all just kind of pulls together. So there is a lot more research. Well, I would say there is, I'd say it's equal. It will feel like all you're doing is research, but once you've got the right research put together, then the writing will kind of flow and all your artifact will begin to build quite quickly. There's not a limit. If you just did work in the lessons, you will struggle to finish anything, and that includes your draft. You will need to do a minimum of 2 hours a week outside of lesson time for EPQ to try and get the kind of grades that you want, but also to get things completed. So there isn't a limit. We had a student this year that seemed to spend more time on her EPQ than on her other subjects, and we had to step in and say, look, you need to back off because the EPQs pretty much was done and they needed to get on with their other subjects. So we try and get it balanced, and I guess this is where your idea and hopeful your concept of planning, time management will come into play. The people that have found it hard with limit on how much time they spend on certain things are the ones that haven't planned it properly, and the ones that haven't really managed themselves properly. Jacob's question. No, they don't really care what your EPQ is about. There might be some that would like it to be a little bit like the subject you're going to do. And sometimes we've had lots of students this year who want to go into like criminal psychology at university. And so they've done their EPQ on the serial killers and the mindset and the psychology, and some have done it on the biology, the brain part of serial killers. So you can do it on something that, especially if you know exactly what you want to do in the future. But no, universities don't generally care. what they're looking for with the EPQ are those skill sets. Okay, so I'm more than happy to keep answering questions, but I've just got this final slide to go. I think we finished this lesson in what, about 15 minutes. So I've got plenty of time, which is really, really good. So let's go over your summer tasks. This is what I want you to start doing, and then keep putting your questions in the chat. I'm looking at them and seeing them, and we'll answer them as we go along. I want you to start off with 4 topics that you're interested in. Now, there might be some out here, some of you who are like, no, I know exactly what I want to do. I know this is the topic I'm going to do. That's fine. Okay, you might find you'll just trim through some of these tasks that I've put in there. The reason why I ask people to go with 4 and then narrow it down to 2 is because of the kind of, I guess, streamlining of your topic, where you want to go with that topic. So choose 4 topics you're interested in. So my 4 topics could simply be sign language. It could be horror movies, because these are things that I'm passionate about. It could be something to do with, I don't know, food, you know, Indian food, cooking or whatever, and advertising. Okay, let's just say I'm interested in those particular things. They're my 4 topics, and these where you're going to probably create one mind map on a piece of paper for each one, so you can have 4 sheets. For each of those topics, I want you to write down 2 subtopics you could cover. So, for example, for horror movies, I could do the final girl theory, because there's a specific theory out there, but I'd like to do a bit more about, you know, how do horror movies show who the final girl is going to be. So I would probably, that could be one of my topics. The other topic could be for horror movies. It could be about, you know, 15 ratings that really should be 18 ratings or something, if I wanted to do that. My other topic, so for each topic you can talk about what you want to do. Advertising, I might go with toys and gender. I have a big old issue about toys and gender and the way it's being advertised to us. That might be one. And another one, it could be about advertising, you know, in terms of women in advertising, how are they represented? Particularly that might be something that's interesting for me. And then for number 3, for each of those questions, I might write down a few points of what I want to discuss within the topic. So for example, let's stick with advertising. For the toys and gender section, I could talk about why is there a split in toys like Lego. Okay, for example, you know, if you look for girls Lego anywhere, it's going to be pink, glittery, white, purple. If you look for boys or normal Lego or boys Lego, it's the main primary colours. So I could talk about that. And within toys and gender, I could talk about the roles that young children are being kind of forced into. All the toys, all the cartoons about for girls are quite often to do with looking after babies and dolls and that kind of stuff, and tea parties. And the roles for boys are always like construction, and how is that changing? So, you know, for number 3, I could think of like 3, you know, I'd say 3 to 5 points within my toys and gender section that I think would be quite interesting to talk about. Once I've done that for all 4 topics, at that point, you will realise there are some topics that you've got loads to talk about and would be really, really good. You'll realise that there are topics that you think, actually, don't really want that, don't want to do that one. That might come across as a bit of a boring topic in the end. And then you'll have some that you go, right, there's a lot more on here than I thought there was. This is going to be fabulous. I'm going to do this particular topic. Okay, so you've got different things. So let's say number 4, narrow down your 4 topics into 2. Okay, well, I'm going to narrow mine down to horror movies and advertising. And for each of these topics, the little areas that I want to cover, I'm going to write a 250 to 500 word summary on that topic and what kind of things I want to find out about it. Okay, now this 250 words to 500 word summary is going to help you set up your proposal form and even maybe be part of your introduction of your essay or your written report. Okay, so this is why I'm asking you to do that. Now, if you are a student that knows exactly which one topic you're going to do, then do this for that one topic. But there's going to be more of you out there that goes, oh, I've got too much choice. So this is a really good way of narrowing it down. And if you're still not sure, if you think out of those four, those four are all amazing, then write a summary for all of them and then bring them in. And then you'll be able to decide which one it is you want to do with guidance from your teacher. Okay. I've also put on this summer task. Now this summer task is on the files for this channel. I'll put it in as a little Word document with literally this slide photocopied on it. Not photocopied, just copied and pasted on it. If you want to, you can start doing some research as well over the summer. What I would say though is make sure you write down where you find the information, because you need to tell me what research you've done, where you found that, and how relevant it is when you're doing your EPQ in September. So don't forget to write down, even if it's just copying the URLs or writing down the book name or the podcast name or whatever it is. You need to write down what sources you've looked at, and you can if you wanted to start your research. Okay. Yes, I have. Oh, this whole PowerPoint. It will be. I have recorded it, so the recording will also be on Teams. I'll put the PowerPoint on Teams at the end of the day, if that's all right with you. PowerPoint. I'm literally writing it down on my little notes here. Put PowerPoint on Teams. I will do that at the end if that's all right with you, because I've got another 2 lessons to do for option C and D as well. So that's it for us. We've got 10 minutes officially until the end of the lesson. So this is the time now for you to have any questions that you have, or any questions that you want me to answer. This is the time to put them in. You can either unmute yourself, or you can just put it straight into the chat. I've got the chat straight up here, so I will be going through your questions on that one as and when you do it. If you are happy with everything, and at this stage you can't think of any questions, then feel free to leave. I am putting my email address right now into the chat, so that if you do come up with any questions, feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation via email if you prefer, about your summer task, about EPQ, about any questions you have. Okay, so that is the end for me. I am going to stop sharing, and then hopefully you have right there. I've got to share content. No, I don't want to share. I want to stop sharing. How strange. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore that now so that I don't mess around. So questions, I can see some. Ah, right. No, this is just a year 12 one. This is just a year 12 project. So you'll do it in year 12 and then you'll forget about it, and then you'll have your grade for year 13, for your UCAS, for your apprenticeship, for all your applications, and then your final grade as well. So yes, you will have that. Let me just try to get out of this one, but never mind. Oh yeah, I can see it. Stop presenting, silly me. Right, questions. Any more questions on there? Yeah, so 1 year to do it, and that's it. No problem. You can unmute and talk to me, or you can just put it into the chat, or if you're all done, you can feel free to go. Hope you're having a good day and hope your lessons are going well as well. I've got a Q&A session at 1 o'clock, so feel free to attend that as well. That's just overall though. So thank you. My PowerPoint, I might have to. Thank you all. I'm just hiding my iPad now because it's making noises. Thank you, bye. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Miss. Just regarding, because it's going to be only the first year, for the second one, the time that you used to do the EPQ, would you have it as one of your frees then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'd have that double lesson back as your study sessions. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. So I've got Charlotte. Any questions you've got, Charlotte, my lovely? If not, you can leave the lesson. Okay, right. Charlotte, do you have any questions? You're still logged on, so I'm wondering if you've got any questions that you're asking. If not, you can email me because we are at the end of the lesson now. Feel free to email me if you do have any questions. Okay, I will. I'll remove you from the lesson, as it's called. So don't worry. There you go.